Like,
Right, exactly. It's the best practice you're gonna get before PCS, and like that's just call it what do you want. Like maybe it's a shame, like that's what North America PUBG has come to, but like it is the best practice you're gonna get going against teams that you're going to be playing against. So there's no excuse for a team to be like, oh, it's only group stages. Like it's a shitty excuse, and any team that says that, like I hope they have a poor performance because they deserve to. But it is what it is.
Alrighty, friends, welcome to episode 5 of Phase 10. I am joined by Trevor, Gunner, Ryan, and special guest Wolf, again filling in for Sologic. We're going to take some stabs at the results of the group stages, hopefully nothing too crazy and too repetitive. And then we're going to look at the predictions that we have for finals teams. So, with that said, let's get right on into it for these group stage results. So we're a little bit removed from it now, but with the finals coming up, we really want to make sure we touch on some of these teams that we didn't get a chance to see in the last few weeks and make sure everybody's all caught up and they understand what's going on moving forward. But with our first team is STK. They were number 1 overall. They had 319 points. There's not too much left to say about STK that we haven't said in previous weeks, and personally it's really difficult to pick apart the areas they struggle, because even when they have a weaker performance, it's still pretty damn strong, right? 221 kills, 41k damage, which 36% came from Luke 12. Just popping off, going nuts. And so there was 4 chicken dinners overall, and the real question is the group stage curse real? Wolf, I'll let you take your first stab at STK here. Definitely. I have to agree.
Phluxy, there's some audio issues.
Okay, could you repeat that real quick, Wolf? Just one more time for me.
I think that STK is just going to keep owning because they have the ping abuser himself. They grind a ton as a team. They're in
That's
scrims
true.
every day, so they're gonna keep doing well.
Couldn't agree more. Ryan, what are your thoughts on him?
Honestly, I think Alo needs to take over as IGL. He's been putting the time in Civilization. He's really been playing the strategy game so that he could, figure out how to Luke, how to approach the game in a more strategic way. So I want to see it. I want to see it done.
For sure. Trevor, anything you want to add to the conversation about STK?
Yeah, I recently did a friendly fire episode with PUBG content with Sologic, and I coined a term, the group stage warriors, and that's what STK lives up to. They come out and they farm these teams from 16 to 20, 24 or whatever it is, and yeah, I don't know, it didn't work out too well last time. Soniqs hopped out to a big lead, and we came back and we got second. And I think it's going to be between us and the Soniqs fighting for this one. So see what happens.
Before Owen says something, I do just want to say something though. Has Oath won a PCS?
Yeah,
They won charity. They won charity. Yeah.
I don't know if that counts, but okay.
They won when everyone was playing for charity.
Yeah, $100,000 to the American Cancer Society. That's a terrible thing.
Okay, well, you know what? Before I get going, I want to know why. I want to know why Trevor thinks it's going to be between him and the Soniqs, considering, we won PCS1 when Wildcard got fed, Oath won charity when they got fed, and Soniqs won charity Soniqs won PCS.
Do you really get fed when you win? When you close out the last day by winning 4 games, and you still got to close those games out, Owen. I mean, Wolf's part of this too here. Like,
no other team anymore, though.
Yeah, but you were, and no other team in the history of North America has ever won 4 games in a row to close the tournament out. So yeah, everyone likes to say we got fed because the last game ended by powers, but we were already up 20 points going into that last game. So it's like the military game before that. I don't think we got fed. We had to go to the apps, fight our way in from the south. Wolf knows this game by heart because he called the whole thing when we had to fight all the way.
Yeah, I remember. I had no helmet that whole game. I was mauled.
And it was not a fed game. So It's
Yeah,
fine.
I mean, look, I'm gonna bust your
All I'm
balls no
saying
matter
is,
what.
I'm gonna bust your balls too. Like, you guys got first last time. It's the curse, you know. Like, Soniqs got first.
Yeah.
It's
I
the
mean,
curse.
it is what it is.
You know.
The difference is when I go back and I look at like the group stage games, because I go back and I watch like all the games,
Mhm.
it actually amazes me with all the mistakes that we made that we're able to get first. So I'm like,
Well, we didn't play the first weekend, so
right.
that's
I mean, so
obvious.
obviously you guys made mistakes as well, right? But like that's my point is I go back and I look at these games and the amount of games that we threw away or dumb things that we did, and yet we're still able to get first place. So obviously, like people, oh yeah, we don't try in group stage. Like any team that doesn't try in group stages, they're just hurting themselves. There's literally
Well,
zero
I mean, we
reason.
definitely tried. Like, we had the highest average placement for a reason. You know, like
I wasn't
yeah.
talking about
So
you. Like
I know.
I'm referring to apparently the casters had said the Sonics said they take group stages as
Well,
glorified scrims, right?
the casters hate on us and Sonics no matter what time of day it is.
So
Never winning that battle.
it always confuses me when teams like if my team at any point ever said, yeah, we're not really gonna try in groups, we're just gonna like fuck around, like I'd lose my fucking mind. Like it's just
Well, yeah.
this is
My
it
team, your
realistically
team would
it's
lose their mind themselves. Like,
right, exactly. It's the best practice you're gonna get before PCS, and that's just call it what do you want. Like maybe it's a shame, like that's what North America PUBG has come to, but like it is the best practice you're gonna get going against teams that you're going to be playing against. So there's no excuse for a team to be like, oh, there's only group stages. Like it's a shitty excuse. And any team that says that, like I hope they have a poor performance because they deserve to. But it is what it is.
This is
Like I mean, we're gonna keep doing our thing, like group stage warriors or not. Like no, I mean we just play our game. Like if we win, we fucking win. Like it's amazing that we won with all the mistakes and issues that we had. That that we won the group stages playing poorly. Like that that it makes the other teams look bad. Like no offense, but it really does.
Shoot. We're starting out with some warm, cozy facts over here, but let's talk a little bit about Soniqs then. While we're at it, they had 207 kills, 40k damage, 5 chicken dinners. They kind of cleaned house there, and they had 307 points to show for it. I said it before, and I'll say it again. This team seemed to find the balance necessary to keep it going, and I would like to say that they remain consistent the whole way through. Each week looked good. They perform well. They've proven they can flex when necessary, and they're able to close out games just as good as the next team does. With the exception of Dodge, because Dodge actually managed to get I believe 5 as well. But do they have what it takes to go back to back here with PCS2 and PCS3? Gunner, I'm going to start with you for this one.
Yeah, I mean they they 100% have a chance to go back and forth. Like we're obviously going to talk about them, and then Oath and Zenith, and like all these teams have the potential to win. Like do I want them to win? Of course not. Like obviously I'm going to support my team, and we're just going to keep trying to do the best that we can to win. But like I don't think there's any person with a brain is going to say like, oh yeah, no, Sonics, they just can't do it. I know I like to bust, I see Shrimsy in here, I'm busting his balls saying he got fed. Like they played a great tournament. Like they played PUBG exactly how, a winning team and a successful team will. They won the games that they were supposed to, and they did well and average points in the games that they weren't supposed to. So anytime you have a team that's executing that strategy, like you're going to win events. Like when you're averaging over 10 points, strictly because like you're taking advantage of the games that you're fed in, and the games that you're not fed in, you're doing other things like fighting teams on edges, pushing, third partying. Like that's it's a recipe for success, and obviously they executed it properly. So of course they have another chance to win this. Like I'd be trolling if I sat up here and said they don't have a chance. Like, and any one of us would be. But
100%. Trevor, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, it just depends on how many circles in southwest of Picado up on the hill.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that helped them tremendously. It really did. In those games they were averaging. In those Southwest Picado games, they're averaging like 17 points a freaking game. Like that's just, how do you keep up with it?
You can't. And you get 3 or 4 of those, it's impossible. We played catch up the whole tournament. fighting into that zone. I mean, we learned a lot how to play that zone. That's PCS, that's for sure. But I mean, yeah, like Gunner's saying, we'd be trolling if we didn't say Soniqs have a chance. It's obviously they're the other, you know, the three horses, they're the other horse. So, and yeah, but I'm gonna obviously root for my guys, and I think we're gonna win. So same story over here.
Fair enough, Wolf. Any extra thoughts on Soniqs there?
I think that Trevor and Gunner pretty much nailed it when it comes to the top teams. Like Gunner said about group stages, like he looked back and they made a lot of mistakes and they still won. It just comes down to which of the top teams plays their zones that they get fed the best, like wins the games they need to, and which team makes the least amount of mistakes on the zones that are really hard for them and plays them the best. It's like really all it comes down to, because it's PUBG. You can't play perfectly every game. It just comes down to making less mistakes in the bad games than the other good teams do. And
I'd agree.
So I really think like any of the top teams have a chance of winning based on that.
For sure. Ryan, anything else that they might not touch on? Do you want to add in?
They're just one of those teams that have the players that like any player could have in like outstanding individual performance that can gain them a lot of points even in a bad game, or like even in bad situations. Every single one of their players is dangerous enough to get them out of that bad situation, and that there's very few teams that are that strong. That's really it. I mean, they've covered everything else, so.
Fair enough. Let's migrate on to then Oath. The young ones were at it again. Finished with 285 points overall, 188 kills, 38k damage, 4 chicken dinners. Where SDK kind of started at that high, we saw Oath do somewhat of the reverse, where it began a bit slower in week 1, and then week 2 saw pretty big improvements, and week 3 was even better. And if that trend continues, the gap between third and first might shorten out quite a bit. Will that momentum carry into the finals? Logic, I'm going to start with you with this one.
Oath is one of those teams where it's like, when they're on, I think that they're like, if they're on their game, I think that they are actually better than STK. Like when they're at their 100%. And that's, I mean, obviously everybody knows how good STK is. But the issue is that I don't think they're as consistent as STK is. And that's, I mean, I feel like that's actually something that most people would agree on, and I'm kind of just stating the obvious, but I think the potential of that team is what is like the highest of any team in PCS.
Fair. I couldn't agree more. Gunner, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, geez, same as with Soniqs. Like, you're not gonna get me, you know, as much as I want to bust Trevor's balls. Like, it's just, you know, it's not really a team that I could just sit here and be like, you know, say many negative things about. You know, although I want to, it's just like they don't really allow me too much. Like, you know, obviously in scrims they've been doing really well lately. They've had like a lot of high kill games and high kill wins, and they're kind of you could tell like they're kind of coming into form. I guess with Relo's shot calling, they're doing some different splits and controlling zones better. So like they're definitely evolving, and like it's a team that is constantly getting better. So obviously, like, you know, for me watching them play every day, you know, I take notice. And so I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna say anything negative about the team. Like, they're all insanely great players. And yeah, I mean, obviously they have a great chance of winning this, and hopefully they don't.
All right. Trevor, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, we had a bad first weekend, like the worst we've probably played in months and months and months of this group stage, but I kind of think it was the best thing that could have happened to us, because we definitely had some issues that I think maybe we honeymooned a bit with Pat in PCS2 near the end when he was a new player coming in. And then like those issues kind of got revealed in that first weekend. And I mean, we came back stronger than we played ever as a team. Like, we finished, even having the worst weekend we've ever had as a team, we finished the group stage with the highest average placement out of anybody. Like, Rolo had most survive time or whatever. Like, I know that doesn't like mean much because it doesn't put next to mean points around the board compared to kills, but I think it just shows that like that consistency that some of the other guys were alluding to is like something we're really working towards. and something I'm feeling like really confident in with the team right now.
For
so
sure.
I expect a bookend this year with we had the first PCS victory, and we'll get the last one.
Hell yeah. Wolf, anything you feel like you need to add in there for Oath?
I think they pretty much said everything I was thinking. It's a little weird to talk about them because I used to be on the team, but one thing that they do better for sure than every other team, which is why they have a good chance of winning any tourney, is the circles that they shouldn't win, they have ways to win that I don't see a lot of other teams doing. And I think like I've seen a lot of teams adapt to that. Like there's the whole dips free meta. Like there's a lot of zones where Oath is the team that will drive across the entire zone to a really bad spot in the circle, hold it, and win the game.
Any
And
hospital zones and scrims?
yeah, literally, just thinking of that today. Like games like that.
Rallis said, "What if we
winnable.
drive to the other side of the circle and we just crash his dip?" Okay, we won the game. So
yeah, Oath does that better than any other team, and like I think that is something that makes them really scary because when they do get zones like the Minos zones where they farm a lot of kills, or Melted Power zones where they also farm a lot of kills, then you add on their games where they win the games they shouldn't win, and then it starts looking really scary for the other teams. Like, and that's basically all I have to say about them.
Good points, though. Definitely good points. And that leads us into Zenith, the next team. So they placed 4th overall. They had 151 kills, 28k damage, 4 chicken dinners, 238 points, which was pretty good. I liked it. I like what I saw coming out of them. And of the teams that replaced more than one player, they performed the best by far. And despite adding 2 strong fraggers to the roster, Kickstart ended up being more of that standout player, which he accounted for 33% of their damage overall and over 35% of the kills for the team. And I think they'll only kind of evolve and get scarier as both Shin and Poon kind of mature into that roster. And then with the addition of Wolf in coach, I think there's a lot of potential there, even more than before. And the question kind of boils down to, can they do enough to outperform the 3 teams that finished higher than them? And Trevor, I'm going to start with you on that one.
Sure. I mean, before we even get to the Wolf point, like this is the team that I said the first weekend of that group stage that this is the team to watch out for. That this is a team that'll come contend with the 3 of us in the top or whatever. I think they got the strongest pickups in the off season or whatever. Like I've said countless times on the show, like I mean I have like a lot of history with Shin obviously, and Poon's always kind of like been around our group of friends or whatever, and like Shin didn't even really play well in this group stage. You know, like that's the thing. They did this good, and Shin, I think, is the best player on their team if he's playing well. And he didn't like. I don't know if he was nervous. I don't know what it was, but like if that kid can turn it on, and I mean, I obviously have a lot of respect for Wolf. You know, and I know Shin does too. And there's a lot of comfortability there that if Wolf can help Shin figure out what he needs to do to pop off and really be the hard carry of that team, because this is the team. Like if you look like whenever you're like, I mean, in my position on Oath, like I look at NA and I just would always look at Soniqs and STK and be like, okay, those are the teams that we're going to be competing with. Like if those teams aren't scrimming that day, it's kind of like a worthless day if one of them's not scrimming, because they put a lot of influence on the map and they do things. But like this is the team that's finally stepped into that 4th role Zenith is, so that can, I mean, if they have a few good games early and they get their momentum rolling and they're feeling good, like I think they have a chance to really contest for this, like a podium spot or go higher. So I'm really looking forward to watching them play. Hope they finish 4th.
For sure. Gunnar, was there anything you wanted to add there in for Zenith?
I mean, realistically, he kind of nailed it. It's a team with like a ton of potential, like you know, from top to bottom. If you look at the roster, you know, it's obviously I definitely expected them to like kind of be top 5 for the group stages, and I'm not gonna say like the finals really should be anything different. I think the team itself is coming together nicely, and now that they have some more time like in between like group stages and the finals, now they had more time to play together. I can't see them really getting, you know, worse like through practice. So the fact that they have been practicing together just has given them the opportunity to gel and form some chemistry. So yeah, I mean it's a pretty scary team. So
I'd have to agree. Ryan, any extra thoughts there on Zenith?
I mean, mm, not really, to be honest. Like I mean, I don't know. They pretty much said everything. Like, I think the only thing that I might add is that I think they're one of like the most feast or famine teams of the entire tournament, and they do some of the, like to put it nicely, like the riskiest things, and then it pays off for them. And when it does, they get a lot of points, and then sometimes it doesn't, and they look dumb. But it's like, I mean, so long as their average points is high, that's all that matters, right? So.
Fair. Fair. And we'll finish it off with Wolf, the newest addition, the coach himself. What are your thoughts on Zenith?
Well, even before I joined this team, I knew they had a ton of potential. I think I even commented on their post when they announced picking up Shin and Poon that this was going to be a big team. They're obviously still new. I can like notice the growing pains, but I'm doing my best to help them out with that. And you know, all four of them are like really strong fraggers. So once I think we iron out all of our little mistakes we're making, like this team should be able to compete with the big three in North America, no problem. And I think PCS3 is going to be a really good test of that to see how well everything we're working on like fits together.
For sure.
So
For sure.
excited.
I'm excited for that too because there is quite the gap there, between those top three specifically, and then once you kind of drop down to fifth, sixth, there is a pretty big gap. So it's always nice to see that competition kind of get a little bit closer in. But that brings us to the next team though, which is Dodge, and it's another team with 2 new additions to the roster and a pretty solid amount of success to show for it. They ended group stages with 227 points. 138 kills, 28k damage, in 5 dinners. They tie Soniqs, obviously, for the most wins in the group stages, proving that they can close out the matches. But I wonder if there might need to be a little bit more to contend with those teams that are above them. And we'll need to see them improve in terms of frags. Is it likely that that'll kind of make its way in? And we'll see that happen coming these finals. What are your thoughts on that, Wolf?
Dodge is interesting because they changed their roster a lot, I feel like.
Mhm.
And this roster definitely looks like their best roster I've seen so far. But they still make a lot of plays that I really have no idea what their end game goal is with it. And those plays lose them a lot of games. It feels like their team, when they get zone, they play it well. Like they win the games that they need to, but all of the games that they don't get zone, they do some really dumb stuff that just like ends up in a 0-point game from them. And like I feel like that's kind of always been their problem, but maybe things will change with the new roster.
For sure. Ryan, any thoughts on Dodge?
I mean, yeah, they did well in groups. I'd like to see it continue because, like, I mean, obviously we're not going to sit there and try to like compare them to the teams above them because they have like a much higher pedigree across several tournaments, as well as like playing together longer. So it's like, yeah, they did well. They got their wins. They won the games like they were supposed to win, as Wolf said. It's just, you want to see the consistency, and that's really it.
For sure. Gunner, any additional thoughts there on Dodge as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like they're a great team. Like they definitely performed better than like I originally had thought. Like obviously, bringing 2 new players is kind of you never really know what you're gonna get, especially like if you don't have much time to practice and start figuring out or creating a system that everyone's comfortable with. So they definitely did. They definitely surprised me. And it's not like when you look at the roster, it's not something you should be surprised about. Like if you look at the players, obviously you would expect them to put up some numbers and do well. But yeah, I think the consistency is probably going to be a key factor. Like they had 89 points in the group stage, but they also had the most wins. So it's like, obviously, that's something to talk about there. So I'm pretty sure like Logic nailed that one. But again, like, yeah, I mean, they're definitely a great team, and it's a team to look out for. And it's not like a team that you're going to really want to have to fight every game. So, good for them. I think they'll do well.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. Trevor, anything else that they didn't cover that you wanted to add in there for Dodge?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same old story with me, but Ryan said this about Zenith, but I think Dodge is even a bigger case of this, is that the feast or famine argument. Like, when Dodge was an interesting one for me, because like when they would win games, they would close them out, and so they close them out big sometimes. Like they had like a 16 or 17 kill win the game outside of Snake, where they were fighting Baja at the end, and it seemed like when they would get momentum, it's like, where do these guys come from? Because they're not a team that's necessarily on the radar for a lot of us. But then on the games where they didn't have the momentum, or they didn't get like a favorable shift, or it seems like that's where they just faltered. Like, it's just what Gunnar just said. They had the most wins, but Soniqs is in second and they're in fifth. So I don't know. It's all about, with like the top teams or whatever. It's not about the games you should win. Like, well, obviously you need to win those wins to close them out big, but it's about the games where you're likely to get under 5 points and somehow squeezing over that. And so that's where, Dodge needs to clean up those other games, and maybe they have a chance to contest the top of the pack. But I assume, my gut, that they'll end up in the middle pack here with the teams we're about to go over as well.
Fair enough. And then, yeah, because that does bring us into the next team, actually, the Hardshifts. And they came out swinging that first week, and then just kind of gradually mellowed out over the course of the group stages, but still found themselves with 139 kills, 26k damage, 4 chicken dinners, and they, rounded it all off with 224 points. And it looked kind of, I don't know, they kind of feel like a wild card to me, because it seems like they can deliver, but then the consistency isn't quite there. But I think that we all know it's possible for them to make it happen in the finals. But is it probable? Gunnar, I'm going to start with you when it comes to the Hardshifts here.
Obviously, like it's a game where it's hard to say like anything is really probable. A lot could happen. That's thankfully that's why we play a lot of games, right? So you could kind of get at a lot of the RNG factors, and then the consistency starts playing a role. But yeah, the Hardshifts are a great team, and they're super experienced. And then obviously in group stages they showed, I think it was the very first day they had like 80 something points, which I believe was the most. Like, who knows? Like, I don't know, Soniqs in the one had like a 90 something, like maybe it was last PCS or first PCS, but yeah, and so did we. But and actually so did us. But yeah, 80 something points on 80 something points is obviously something pretty crazy. So it shows that they're able to do it. And I remember the games pretty well, and like they played into the circles well, and they maintained numbers and really held their edge good. So the team obviously is super experienced. Like, I can't really say anything bad about them, and I love all the guys on the team. So yeah, they have a ton of potential, and I like if they ended up placing first or second, like I'm not going to be like, oh, it's a huge freaking surprise. Like, it's a team that has the ability to win. So I'm not too surprised I'm not going to be too surprised if they end up doing so.
For sure. Trevor, what are your thoughts on the probability of them cleaning it out here in the finals?
Sorry, I was muted. The probability of them cleaning it out in the finals. And put it like that, I'd say it's pretty low. Like, I just, in my brain, they're a mid-pack team, and a lot of these mid-pack teams, it's kind of the same story with a few of them. Like, they all have the potential. They're players that we know, and like we don't, we've been friendly with them from time to time. We don't want to talk bad about them, but for whatever reason, they just don't put it together on game day all the time. Like, they have little flashes of greatness. Like, Hardshifts came out that first weekend, everyone was like, oh shit, like, is the Hardshifts here? Like, is this it? Finally, we've been waiting for this. Maluk's obviously like one of the best IGLs ever. There's no arguing that. And the rest of their lineup is great. And then they just kind of slowly bled out for the rest of the tournament. Like, they had like a 70-point lead on us after the first weekend. And then the next weekend we were ahead of them. And it's just like, it's just consistency. How do they make their bad games okay or a little bit better? So what's the probability of them cleaning up the tournament? It's pretty low.
Yeah. Fair enough. Let's go into Wolf's idea on that. Anything you want to add to the table there for Hardshifts?
Well, Hardshifts is interesting because, like everyone else said, they have a ton of potential. All these guys are really good players. They've been around forever. But when you watch them, it feels like they just keep making the same mistakes from tourney to tourney to tourney. Like, they have their good games, sure, but then they have a ton of bad games and they make some very interesting decisions. And sometimes it looks like they aren't all on the same page. So I don't know if there's like a counter calling issue, confidence issue, or something, but I don't think that they're going to like move up from where they are, like middle of the pack, because I haven't seen any like sign of them fixing the mistakes they've been making since this roster's been together.
Gotcha. Ryan, anything else you want to touch on with the Hardshifts?
I mean, I've been sitting here trying to think of something to say that they haven't already said, but there really isn't much. Like they've pretty much covered it all.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, no, 100%. And we're gonna, as we kind of go through this, we're gonna hit those moments where there just might not be a whole lot to say about the other teams, but we'll take a stab at it anyways. But moving on to Veritas, 132 kills, 29k damage, 214 points over their 4 chicken dinners. I would definitely say they had some strong performances in group stages. Some matches they dominated, in others they kind of exist as like that thorn in the side of a lot of teams. And I feel there's a good chance we'll see Veritas have a stronger run in PCS3 compared to their run in PCS2, but has enough change to differentiate them from some of those other middle pack teams. And with that said, Ryan, I'm going to start with you.
So Veritas, I feel like they actually like changed how they played the game from PCS1 to PCS2 to now. Like I mean, I don't know if that's just like roster changing and like now suddenly they play the game differently, but I feel like they're just not nearly as like dangerous. I don't know. I don't know if that's just me thinking that Penta is one of the best North American players or not, but I just personally don't like see them as big a threat with the roster they have now.
Fair enough. Gunner, do you echo those sentiments? How do you feel about them?
I don't know. I mean, it's just obviously two good players left that team and 2 other good players joined that team. So it's hard to, it's just it's so hard to just be like, oh yeah, they got better. Or, oh man, they got a lot worse. Like especially when they're getting rid of and replacing players that have just statistically done better than the other person, in different tournaments, so it's just like it's real hard to determine, but like, obviously it's just the team's potential is obviously there. Like they have 2 new players. I agree with Ryan that it does look like they are playing a little different, but like, it's something that
Yeah.
not from like the same perspective of like, they're like a weaker team or anything, but just like it seems like their play style
Yeah.
itself is
Well,
different.
they changed up what was working. Like they obviously played well PCS1, right? And then it's like it worked for them, and then they made changes, and it was just, I mean, PCS2 didn't go as hot, yeah, but like I mean, you can, I don't know. I just feel like one tournament after such promise before that was a little quick to make changes.
Yeah, well, I mean, with that whole situation, like, it's the same, like, I don't know, when we get to a lot of these teams, like, obviously, individual performance, I think, had very little to do with why someone would be, like, replaced in this case. I think it's more about, like, a chemistry thing, possibly. I don't know the whole situation. And obviously, I'm just theorizing on what the issue could have been. But again, like when you're getting rid of really great players and replacing them with other great players, like something wasn't clicking between PCS1 and then obviously PCS2. So they felt like they needed a change. And like, you gotta respect that decision, obviously, if it is a team decision and everyone is kind of on the same page, like, yeah, you know what, it's not working. It is what it is. you know, when you have great players leaving the roster, they're obviously going to get picked up elsewhere. And in this case, that is exactly what happened, right? So it's you know, there's no one that's going to come in here and just be like, oh yeah, you know, it's Veritas. There's you know, there's no chance that they can win. There's no, you know, it's just not a good team. Like if anyone says that, they're just foolish. They're a good team. And obviously they just need to work on, you know, some shit that they're doing wrong now, and they're trying to gel with the two players that they got, and that's what they're starting to do. So, you know, we'll have to see, but they're a good team. Simple as that.
Agreed. Trevor, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, I kind of agree with the sentiment that they both shared. You know, like on paper, in a straight up team fight, maybe their previous roster was a little more scarier. Like Sharp's a incredible player, Penta's an incredible player, especially in that close range fighting. But they picked up two really good players at the same time. You know,
Yep.
Detroit's no joke. Michael's been around forever. Michael's went deep in Worlds and stuff, and you know they're clearly the best British team in North American PCS. That goes without saying. And but yeah, I don't know. It seems like they got stuff to figure out. Maybe they gel better with this roster, and that's the reason they went with it. But I don't know if they've necessarily figured that out yet. So maybe the last couple of weeks when we've been starting up the scrims again, they've been working on it. But they're just kind of in my brain that one of those mid-pack teams right now.
I wasn't gonna say it, Jerry.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Wolf,
No.
what are your
best team from the United Kingdom? Sorry,
There we go.
guys. All right.
There we
All
go.
right, guys.
There we
Best
go.
UK team.
Good correction. Good correction. And we'll kind of round it off here with Wolf. And Wolf, I'm curious for your perspective, because Zenith was one of those teams also who performed relatively well, but did have some switches. And when I interviewed Roth, he kind of touched on that a bit about, you know, those sort of changes can be a little bit confusing from the outside looking in. But what are your thoughts?
Well, obviously we don't know what was going on in the team, which caused them to make the changes. Could have been anything really, but like the others said, they got rid of two really good players and picked up two really good players. So they had their reason for that. We may never know, but you know, it looks like they're still meshing right now. Like it seems like they have a little bit differing opinions of playstyle, because as others have said, their playstyle's a little bit different, I would say now. Still looks relatively the same, but they do some stuff you wouldn't expect from them before. And I don't know, I think they just need time to mesh with the new players to see how the roster is really gonna turn out. I think like with my team, PCS3 is gonna be like a really good test for that, to see how they end up.
I agree. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see how they show up. But another team I'm also excited about is Duel, because they closed it out with 136 kills, 28k damage, 3 chicken dinners, and 211 points. And they certainly are one of the many teams that struggled kind of off the jump, but then made adjustments and regained that ground in, you know, week 2, and then week 3 was a reasonable performance from them. And if they continue to get active like they have been, I think you can certainly bank on them having a left leaderboard finish. But similar to Veritas, though, the question is, can Duel do enough to kind of climb out of that middle pack area and fight for a higher position? Trevor, let me start with you on this one.
Sure. I think Duel, they're the most exciting out of the middle pack teams for me. If I'm just watching as a fan right now, like, and if I remove myself from Oath or whatever, you know, in my brain, like going into this, like they're the 5th place team, like in NA right now. And they have a lot of chemistry. I think previously a lot of them have, you know, we all know they've played together in the past, and that kind of started to show through. And they picked up a lot of like strong players, you know, like this rendition of the roster with Lynxy and Penta joining now is it's strong. It's a good team. So I don't know. It's a tough one. Like in my brain, I think they're the 5th place team on paper in my brain, behind, you know, us 3 and then Zenith and then Duel is how I map it out. But that could easily change. Like they came on really strong at the end of that in group stage, and I know those guys have been grinding too. Like they put the time in. Like they have been doing they've done the Korean scrim blocks. I see them. You know, they stream every night. They're grinding ranked in Korea, and like, you know, you always have to respect the people that put the time in. So I am most excited for them out of like the mid pack teams. My brain, I'm most excited to watch them and see what they can come up with in this tournament.
For sure. For sure. Anything you wanted to add to that there, Wolf?
Yeah, Duel's an interesting one because, you know, Wooly and the boys are all back together from NPL, and like honestly, they've been looking really strong in scrims lately. You know, they just they need to stop four-manning Sharky compound on Miramar though. That's getting a little weird, but
That is a weird choice.
yeah, I mean, they're an interesting team because, like I said, the boys are back together and they've been doing really well. And it just depends on if they can, you know, keep moving forward with the team and improving, or if they'll fall back to how, you know, they used to be, and they're just kind of like middle of the pack with like some big games every once in a while, but outside of that, just kind of a relatively unknown team.
Got you. Got you. Ryan, anything you wanted to add there for Duel?
I think you need to bring up what Duel was like before the roster changes, and I'd say it's pretty agreeable that their performances were pretty miserable. And like, yeah, they kind of, they skated by whatever, but I think adding Penta and Lynxy, and it's like, this is like the team of, friends. Like they're all really good friends with each other. They're all going to enjoy playing with each other. They're all going to enjoy working together to like try to get better. And it's, that makes it, a nice environment for that. But it also just goes to show that it wasn't the players, it wasn't the individual players that like made it to where things weren't working before. Like Wooly and Cherry are great players, like everybody knows that. And then you add Penta and Lynxy. Penta, I've already voiced my opinion on him. And Lynxy, I don't know that much about. I know that he was with like Simplicity and back in NA. Like I wasn't in PUBG that much back then. But I've heard great things about him, so, and I know that he's good friends with them. So I mean, if they're willing to talk big on him, then I can see this roster like being like as a chemistry point or like a chemistry standpoint, and as far as like actual like time and effort into the game, is they're going to be at the top for that. So
True enough. Gunner, anything you want to add in there for Duel?
Yeah, unfortunately Elijah kind of stole a lot of shit I was gonna say, but it is what it is. Like, but you know, like with a team like Duel, it's fun to see like exactly like kind of what he was talking about. Like, you know, we were talking about like two good players leaving, two good players coming in, but like, you know, in this case, like obviously, it's just it shows like with this team, like there's a lot more to game, a lot more to the game than just you know, like fragging out and then like, you know, getting zones, and like it shows like you know, how much better of a team you could be when you're really comfortable. Well, when the whole team's really comfortable with each other, right? Like, um, you know, I've been in environments and I've seen environments like, you know, even outside of PUBG where, you know, you show up to like work, and we'll call scrims work because that's how teams should treat them, but they don't. But you know, you show up to work and you just don't like the people you're working with, you know, and obviously within a team environment, those would be like your colleagues, right? So, you know, and if you, it's just such a shitty environment to be around. And like you don't want to be there, and you just can't wait for it to be over, right? And like in a situation like Duel, and you know, I could be completely wrong, maybe all these guys fucking hate each other, who knows, but I doubt it. um but like, you know, it seems like they're just more excited to play the game now, and they're more excited to be with each other, and you know, it probably has a lot to do with the fact that they're comfortable with each other and have been with each other in the past. Like, you know, if they didn't feel comfortable with how they played together in the past, I doubt they would have tried to form a roster, you know, again, right? And you know, obviously, like, I mean, most people know I type it all the time in chat. I think Penta is one of the best North American players that there is. Mechanically, I think he does a lot of silly shit, but so does a lot of other players. But you know, mechanically, I think he's one of the strongest players in North America, and you know, I hope he recognizes that, because then he'll focus on things that he fucks up, and then maybe he can become the best player in North America. Who knows? But he has the potential. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was a solid team.
I'm
Yeah,
looking forward
this
to
is
seeing
the
how
best dual roster that we've seen in a long time for sure.
I couldn't agree more. I'm excited to see how everything shapes up, you know, coming into the finals. But that brings us into Illusion. So these guys only got better as the group stages went on. Week one felt pretty damn disjointed, if I'm being honest, but they began to figure out what they could and couldn't do. And I think as the weeks progressed, it seemed like they had a better balance. of playing passive and playing aggressive. And it's certainly not as simple as just like hitting your W key, but it feels like they're making steps in the right direction. But do we believe that they have what it takes to contend for a left leaderboard spot? Wolf, I'm going to pass that to you to start.
So this team's a weird one. So I thought that their previous roster was actually becoming like quite good, and then they made changes, and their new roster, I just don't see the same team as I saw before, and I really think that they are moving from an upper middle of the pack team down lower, and like as the other teams are getting stronger. But I don't really have a lot to say about them, but I don't see them moving up anywhere from where they are now. They just make a lot of mistakes, and they're hot dropping for alt drops and just stupid stuff like that just doesn't really make sense to me. So that's really all I have to say about them.
Fair. Ryan, what do you got to
Yeah,
say about them?
so I think that out of all the teams in PCS, that this is the team that has changed the most as far as how they play the game. Like not even just like roster changes, whatever. Like obviously some teams might have more drastic roster changes, but as far as like actual like how they're playing the game, I think this team has changed the most because often we would like obviously you're gonna know what the teams around you are doing the most, and we would often run into Illusion and know what they're doing all the time, especially on Erangel, obviously, and they're just not doing the things that they used to be doing that they were having a lot of success with, and it's like they're not even doing them at all anymore, and we're just like really confused, and then we just see them die, and it's just like, okay, like why are they changing what works for them? And that's just something that I feel like they're the ones that have changed some of their play style the most out of anybody.
That's an interesting take, but you definitely have a point there. Gunner, anything you want to add there for Illusion?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the inconsistencies like are kind of there, which is why that puts them like, 8th, 9th place, 10th place. I mean, PCS1 group stage, I think they kind of barely squeaked by in the top 16. Then they got like 8th place, and then this last group stage they got 9th place, and so obviously they've proven they can kind of be in the top 10. But like I'm not gonna tell them what they do wrong. I'm not their coach. Like I'm not gonna sit up here and tell them everything that they should be doing. That they're not. But I mean, they just do dumb shit. Simple as that. Like, and I don't think they take scrims very serious. Especially because I host the freaking things, and a lot of times they're the last ones in the lobby, and it drives me freaking crazy.
Been there.
But no, I mean honestly, I just think I think the mindset really needs to change a little bit on that team. I think they need to believe that they can be better, and then start working on what will help them become better. Because like I think I had brought it up when we were talking about the other, the Clown Fiesta last week. When the teams are shooting for top 16, and just hoping that they get in top 16, like it's just a recipe for failure. And with Illusion, like they know that they could be top 16, but they don't believe that they could be the best. And that mindset right there is just setting them up for failure. So um, I just don't. I love that team and everyone on that team, but I don't think that right now they're hungry enough to try and be one of the best teams in North America. And I don't really think that they're putting the time together as a team to do it. And I think as we go down from Illusion basically to the bottom of the board, I think that's going to be the case with with the, I want to say with the exception of the Rumblers, but I mean, personally, I don't know how many people on that team are really grinding outside of Los. But I mean, when we get to the Rumblers, then I'll speak about them, but yeah, I mean, it's going to pretty much be the same thing going down the list. Like it's just, the confidence these teams from Illusion below, I don't believe is there, and I think that's something that hurts a lot of these teams. And it's not like I'm not like talking shit about them. Like I want them to be more confident because then they could actually show up and really like try, and it'll make scrims better. That's for sure.
Fair. Trevor, anything you want to add in there for Illusion?
I mean, Gunner kind of stole my point there, but yeah, this is like the start of the teams where it feels like they're content where they're at. Like they have no drive to push further.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like they're happy they made it to the finals. You know, they get to be in all the Discord channels or whatever. They get to be part of the conversation. We get to talk about it, but it doesn't feel like they're actively like driving to to challenge the top of the leaderboard. And I was literally going to say the exact same thing. From here on out, it kind of feels like that's the vibe. But then now we're getting into the lower teams on the leaderboard.
I agree, and that brings us right into to Comets. Actually, these guys they've proven that they can do enough to qualify, but they aren't quite there in terms of competing for the left leaderboard position. And whereas some of the middle of the pack teams were pretty much within striking distance of one another, Comets weren't quite able to produce the same amount of kills as the bottom half of those 8 teams. And obviously we've discussed some of their choices when it comes to play styles, in the previous week. But I'm not too sure what needs to happen in order for them to kind of move forward and have a stronger chance at that left side position. Gunner, I'm going to start with you on these boys.
Okay, good.
Gunner in the comments. I don't know. I'll go second, I guess.
Wow, wait, what were you
the rattiest team in the lobby, right?
No. Okay, no. Well, for one, I'll be honest. I gotta leave soon, so I'm gonna be quick, because I know I don't shut the hell up, and I probably annoy a lot of people. But it is what it is. But I mean, with the comments, obviously, it's a group of guys that we're all familiar with. I mean, I don't think they're the rattiest team anymore. And then let me just touch on the point is there's been a few occasions in which we got killed by dumpster rats. So we started calling them rats, but obviously it's a great team. And I'm really, really excited, obviously, with the, Vegas and like Leda, because obviously those are players that have individually stood out on other rosters and just in the North American scene in general in the past. And obviously he actually had a really good group stage. So he's, he showed that contrary to what Luke and the other Aussies say, that he's played for fun, like, maybe he means business now. So I'm happy for that. And his mother's always in chat supporting him and PUBG as a whole. So, we love that. And you know what? We love the Comets. Comets are good guys. They're not rats. They're not. They're great guys, and they're a great team. Thank you.
Trevor.
Owen,
What?
and I love that team and everyone on it. Machine Gunner. There we go.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, really.
This team, I don't know if they have the same drive across all 4 players. Because, like, I'm pretty good friends with Vegas. Like, I talk to him a lot. And I know, like, a big reason for him coming back to PUBG in the first place was he feels like he's not done with it. Like, he has more to accomplish. Like, he wants to win. Like, that kid wants to win, like, badly. Like, he wants to go play at the highest teams. He wants, so I don't know if there's, like, some disjointedness in there. I don't talk to him too much about his team stuff necessarily, but I kind of feel like it kind of pivots on him. He's, like, the star player of that roster when he turns on. Like, I mean, Vegas, this is his first tournament back. I think he was like 11th in damage in the group stage. And like, he hasn't played the game in 6 months. And so I want, they're a team that if they're clicking, they're like all these other, they're a mid-pack team that can just, like we said about the other ones, they can suddenly be a top 4 team or a top 3 team. I think they did it last time in the group stages. They were pretty high up. And I'm excited to see them play, but I just don't know if they have the same drive across all 4 players. So
fair. Wolf, anything you wanted to add in there for the Comets?
I don't really know. About the only thing I think I could say is I think if you actually quit vaping, they would win more games.
I've heard that thought process before.
Oh my goodness. Fair enough, Ryan. Anything you want to touch on with them?
I just want to say, if it's Yaxley still screaming on the plane, to stop, please. Thanks.
Usually we send Balefrost as a counter to that. Usually, but
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough with comments. But let's. I guess if Gunner's on a bit of a time crunch and we're gonna pretty much say the same things, why don't we go ahead and combine Gascans, ATC, Rumblers, Tech 8, One Eye,
Oh
and
gosh.
Fabled. We'll just kind of lump them all together. If there's any points any of you want to talk about with specifically, feel free to shout them out. I'll go in order. But what I did want to say before we delve into that, because there was one thing I wanted to mention kind of about Gascans is like they have the opposite story of Comets, and when they showed up, they could bring frags that were pretty much on par with those middle pack teams, but they weren't quite able to figure out, I think, maybe some of the macro gameplay to convert that into higher placements overall. And then last but not least, Rumblers. I think they have the potential. I think they're going to have a better showing. I think they had a rough group stage, but I think they're going to do better in the finals. But kind of lumping all those teams together, Gunner, I think I'm going to start with you here. Your
Excellent.
thoughts?
Okay, well, for one, we're gonna unlump we're gonna unlump Gascans and then lump the other ones together. But yeah, I mean, just in case I have to go, I'll get what I have to say out first. But okay, so as far as the other teams go, I'll leave the Gascans for last. As far as the other teams go, ATC, Rumblers. I mean, ATC obviously, like, they have European players and stuff, like, and apparently, like, that's why they struggle scrimming. Like, obviously, everyone knows the case with that. Like, they actually have done well. They loot near us on both maps, so they could be a pain in the ass, but they have Sharp Shot now, and I know Sharp Shot has a motivated mentality, so hopefully he is, you know, um, I mean, I don't want to say they're not motivated because I know that they play the game and I know they practice. It's just obviously their European players aren't completely swapped into a North American schedule, which it's understandable. But I mean, they're a pain in the ass for us, but they've shown that they can be a good team, and they've shown that they have a lot of individual talent on that team. Rumblers, again, I don't know, obviously, like, I don't want to speak too much on like what's going on within like their team itself, but it's one of the most experienced teams in competitive PUBG. Like, if you look at the individuals itself, so obviously that that itself would show that they definitely have the potential. With them in general, I think like I don't know if it's they're having counter calling issues or just maybe a chemistry issue or a problem itself. Like, I mean, who knows? There could be a bunch of problems. Like maybe some of them are burnt out. Who knows? Shit happens. But I mean, I can't say anything bad about them at all. Onto the gas cans since I'm gonna have to leave soon. I think. I think that team is just, inconsistent, and obviously, I think personally they try and do too much sometimes. And like they definitely have some good games where you're just like, wow, like this team can really pop off, and like the casters I know say it, a lot of people say it, but I think they screw themselves a lot, doing some of the stuff they do, doing some of the splits they do, freaking sitting on blue for God knows how long for literally no reason, just to fuck over one other team. I don't really know what goes through their head, but I mean, personally, I, so long as I think they continue to have the play style that they do, where they think they're a Korean team and they're not, I think they're going to probably continue to be inconsistent, and be annoying to us. And that's that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And anything about any of the other teams that we mentioned there, like Tech 8, One Eye Open, Fabled, any Rumblers? Gunner?
Oh, I mean, not really, but sorry, I was reading something.
Oh, no, you're good.
Yeah, I mean, TAC 8, I think it was kind of, I mean, again, in the group stages, in week one, they popped off. One Eye Open, I mean, they're a new team. I mean, well, not like new players, but they're a new team, and I think, like, obviously they need to, um, try and figure some stuff out, and that's going to come with consistently playing and experience. Fabled, honestly, I really thought that they would do, I guess, better than they did. I think just watching scrims and stuff, I feel like they have potential, and they at times show it. But again, like, inconsistency is what is like the real issue here. And hopefully they could work on that and fix that, and just try and have a better tournament.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, Trevor, I'll move on to you, kind of lumping those guys in, Gascan, ATC, Rumblers, TAC 8, One Eye, and Fabled. What are your thoughts on any of those guys in particular that you want to get off?
It's kind of hard to follow Gunner because he and I kind of think about all these people similarly. Rumblers, I don't know what's going on with that group. Like they're the one group that doesn't belong down here in this conversation. Like, we can all say that. I don't know if it's burnout. I don't know what it is. Like, we know Los puts the time in. He plays with, Rello, my guys, Snakers a lot too. Like, every night they're playing together. And so they're just like the question mark. And I know in our next segment we talked about who, do we expect the most improvement from group stage? Like, Rumblers is my vote for they should have the most improvement from group stage into the final. TAC 8, One Eye Open, Fabled. I mean, we know Fabled's going to be in first after day one, and they're going to, they'll win 2 games. And then I don't know what's going to happen to them the rest of the tournament if history proves true. One Eye, TAC 8, they're not even on my radar. Like they're 15, 16 in my brain, and it just feels like they're content to be here. Like they're happy they're in the tournament. Who else we got here? ATC. This is a really interesting one. They finished 4th last time. Like, kind of some of the murmurs I got on the team is that maybe their previous roster, like the calling was a little bit different now than it is now with the Sharp addition. But on paper, Sharp's like an incredible player. Like, Sharp's not a player I want to go into a team fight against. It's like, he's really strong. And so I expect them to do better than 12th. Like, I don't know. They're also a team that do better. And then Gascans, like, I think Gunner hit it like the nail on the head perfectly. Like, it's like they try to do all this stuff but they just end up being annoying. But it's not to like anybody's it's not positive for anybody. Like, they are annoying to us as well. Yeah. And they might screw over our game every once in a while, but it doesn't like help their game in any way at the same time. Like, usually, if we make a play to hold somebody out, it's for our benefit. Like, we're making a play so our game ends up better. Where it seems like they make plays to ruin somebody else's game, and it seems troll or whatever you want to say, because they don't gain anything from it at the time either. This is a team that had like 9 placement points or something. So like, and
they're a great team too. Like, that's
that's really weird. They do these dumb plays. Like, it just feels troll. Like, that's what it feels like.
Trust me, it drives me insane. And I think that's why I was harsh on them, is because like, like, they have like these games and like they show like they could be a good team, but like they do the craziest shit that just, obviously bothers like teams.
But it's but it's to no one's benefit, which is the weird thing. Like, they do these weird. So like, I know they've like tried to have this, Gen G style, like they say, NAP or whatever. But it's,
I mean, it's a meme, but I'm starting to believe it.
I'm starting to believe it too, that this is what they're trying to do, but it's clearly not panning out. So we'll see what happens. I expect them to kind of roll in where they're at right now. So.
To be in their defense, they have been doing better in scrims than they have been like doing. So
sure. And I can attribute that to maybe like Oldest getting his feet under him, because that kid is like pretty scary at fights.
Again, they have a great team. Like, individually, they have a great team. They just doing some weird stuff that like my brain just isn't computing what's going on. You know?
Yeah, they got to realize this is not Korea that we're playing in. This is North America, and you cannot play the same way that a Korean team plays when all of the other teams also play differently.
That's a really good point. Trevor, was there anything else that you wanted to kind of touch on with Rumblers specifically? Because I think you kind of mentioned the other guys.
I'm more interested to hear from Ryan on this one. Like, I don't know what you look at that team.
If you want me to, one word that'll describe it, and it might give everybody a hint, and it's stubbornness.
Okay, but this is a team that shouldn't be like in this conversation. They shouldn't be lumped into the bottom of the leaderboard with the other teams saying, okay, well, let's just say the same things about these 5 teams. Like, Rumblers should be in that conversation. So I'm not in there. Like Gunner said about, previous teams, I'm not their coach, so I don't necessarily want to help them, like if a team with that much potential is doing bad, it's good for my team in the end of the day. So like, I just don't know what's going on with that camp. So
fair enough. Wolf, how about you, my friend, with when it comes to Gascans, ATC, TAC 8, One Eye, Fabled, and Rumblers?
Okay, so for Gascans, they could be really good, but like I mentioned and others said, they need to play like this is North America, not Korea. They need to play based on how the other teams do. They could be really good. They have really good ideas, but they're not executing them properly. They have been doing really well in scrims lately. I think they've been tightening up a little bit. Like they had a 20 kill win today in scrims that they played really well, in my opinion. So we'll have to see how they tighten up going into the actual finals. But so that's basically it for them. ATC doesn't seem like they care. They don't scrim at all. I don't know how much they practice as a team, so I don't know if they'll.
To their credit, I know they play a lot of like the EUGL dailies every morning and stuff like that. So they are playing the game, but it feels like Gunnar was saying, they want to play like in their time zone. So
yeah, not playing against the teams that they're playing.
But I agree with you on this point. Yes.
Yeah, makes sense. Rumblers, I don't have anything to say. Everyone else said that. TAC 8, same thing. Fabled could be a good team, but like Trevor said, they win like 2 games at tourney, and then they're not a team in the rest of the games. I don't know what's going on there. And then One Eye Open. These guys are the most annoying players I have ever seen in my time playing. Like, they don't know what they're doing, but they seem to find a way to annoy you. And for some reason, they think that looting like just shelter and the trophy like warehouse on their angle is enough loot, but like I honestly think the first step to them getting better as a team is finding a new loot spot. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say about those teams.
Fair. All right, and that brings us to Ryan. Let's talk about it. We got again Gascans, ATC, Rumblers, TAC 8, One Eye, Fabled. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I really don't know what the Gascans like thought process is half the time. I feel like it's like something along the lines of like, hey, if this works, we'll win the game. But it's like a low percentage like play to try to win it. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like, hey, if you can hold this by yourself and you hold that by yourself and we hold this, it's like we'll have all this area, and it's like, why? Like I don't know. That's just so weird to me. But for ATC, I mean, people like talk about them not scrimming and all that. I know that like Aguila's really a nutty player. I do want to say like he's probably one of the like in a clutch situation and you just let him play the game. He's one of the guys that is like he will come through. But I feel like it's almost the same for like all their players, to be honest. It's kind of like they're like all individually strong in moments where they need to just worry about themselves, but not so much as like fighting together, if that makes sense. And so I feel like that's kind of like when you have 4 great individual players that are all, 1v4 potentials, it's like, but now they need to fight together. It's like they don't really know how to do that correctly, I guess. At least I feel that way. I don't really want to talk much on my team, obviously. I've already said the one thing I want to say. TAC 8 One Eye Open, I mean, don't really have much to say about them. They're kind of just like there. Like that's really, I don't know if that's an insult or not, but I feel like they're just kind of, in the lobby. And then again, Fabled is kind of that like they can have a good game, and then they're also, it's like they have a great game and then they're just kind of there, and then they might have a good game again and then they're just kind of there, and then it's like if it's not, kind of falling in their lap, you don't really see them having good games. So, but yeah.
I got one last thing.
Okay.
I forgot to mention it about TAC 8. I think Zealot is the most underrated player in North America currently. And I think he has some of the highest potential that like a player has shown in a while for someone that just kind of came out of nowhere. Although I know he was playing, but as far as like the top tier of players, he kind of came out of nowhere, and he is currently the most underrated player in North America. That's a fact. All right, I'm done. Thank
100%.
you.
Fair enough. It's funny you say that because yeah, Zella is incredible. He really is an incredible player. It's been interesting to watch him kind of grow. I've had my eye on him for quite some time. But I really hope that it's not one of those circumstances where like, a player kind of grows and then just leaves the team, and ends up somewhere else. It's good for him, maybe not so great for the team, but we'll see what happens moving forward. But yeah, let's real quick kind of wrap it up here with our final predictions of what'll take place coming here into PCS3. And we've done predictions before many a times, but I wanted to spice it up a bit and break it kind of into like 3 separate categories. And we'll say top kills, top placement, and top improvement from the group stages. I guess I will go first. I definitely agree with what Trevor said earlier. I think that the biggest improvement from groups into finals is going to be Rumblers. I don't see any way where they don't totally, blow ahead of what happened here in group stages and really have a strong showing. I would say for top kills, I'm gonna have to go ahead and I'm throwing this one to Oath, man. I really am. I think that I think it's gonna happen here. I think they're gonna frag out of their mind. I think they're gonna find that balance and they're just gonna go a little nutty. And then I would have to say for my placements, and this might be a little weird for some people, I'm gonna say STK. I'm gonna say STK on that. And I don't even have to elaborate. I just think they're gonna do it this time around, coming first, specifically for placement points. But let's go, Trevor. Trevor, you first here, my friend. What are your top 3?
Oath number 1. The rest not number 1. But top 3, the Rumblers most improved. Close second on that though for me is Comets. Like I think Comets, like I was kind of alluding to, like if they figure their shit out or whatever, like they stand a chance to get like the most improved award here. Top kills, I mean, I think my team's the best fragging team in the game. I think Soniqs and STK are close seconds, but I mean, we've been fighting them all week in scrims, and it's been going pretty well for us, so I'm feeling good about that one. Top placement points, I mean, I think the group stage was super good for us. Like, Rolo really came into his own. Like, we played terribly that first weekend, and we had 18 points day 1, and then we finished the group stage's highest average placement. So I'm throwing that one our way as well. Obviously I'm going to toot my own horn. I'm sure Owen's going to toot his. So that's just the way it goes. But obviously I think we're going to win.
Fair enough. Wolf, what are your top 3, my friend?
Top kills. Let's see. I'm going to have to give top kills to Oath as well. I know that they like fragging out, and it's hard to deny that they're some of the strongest fraggers in the game, and if they get a good start, then it's going to be scary. Top placement points. That's a hard one. I think that I'm going to throw like a wild card out here. Hardshifts could be a contender for top placement points if they really like focus up this tourney. I think the way they play, they have potential to win a lot of games and get a lot of high placements. They might lack in the kill points, but they might make up for it there. So we'll just have to see. And then for top improvement, I can assume it's going to be the same for everyone. I'm going to go with Rumblers because, as everyone said, they aren't a team we would expect to see at the bottom. So I expect to see them back toward the top this tourney.
For sure. Ryan, let's hear from you, my friend. Top 3.
All right, so most kills, it's going to be STK. I think that they're going to actually frag out more this tournament than relying on placement points. I don't know. They just fragged out in the group stage like crazy. It kind of slowed down towards the end, but I think honestly, I'm surprised placement points. Like I don't know how anybody could not go with the Soniqs. They kind of just always looting center, get good zone or good position in every zone, and then when it comes with luck as well, it's like seems like an obvious choice for placement points.
Mm-hmm. And then for top improvement.
Do I even need to?
We're all in agreement here. We all agree.
my team. Come on.
Fair enough. And Gunner, let me end it with you then, my friend. Your top 3.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so as far as the improvement, like it's Rumblers. Obviously winning, like my team, like like obviously is I would expect other coaches and other people like everyone has their own opinion. So I'm confident in my team and how we perform. So it's obviously going to be my team that I believe will win. I think we'll have the most kills, and we're going to try our best, and like that's what's important. So obviously, good luck to the rest of the teams and like the rest of the coaches, and I'm sure the teams that we expect to do well will likely do well, and then hopefully it leads up to a decent PCS3.
For sure. For sure. I'm excited for it. It'll be great. It'll be great. And it's just right around the corner here up in a couple days. So I'm excited to see how it all pans out then. But gentlemen, that is all we have for episode 5 of Phase 10. It has been a privilege as well as a pleasure to have you all on here talking all the talk and stuff like that. We'll be back next week. Should be same time, same channel, despite my weird Twitter updates about different times because I don't understand how daylight savings works living in Arizona. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much, all 4 of you, for your time. Wolf, thank you again for filling in last moment here. I appreciate you, and it's a pleasure having you on, my friend. And friends, will be back with some additional games in just a moment here. Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for having me.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Flux.
Definitely. Have a good night, gentlemen. Have a good night.